year. She will be attending Northwestern University in Illinois on a scholarship for low-income students. Manal had not yet been born when Mr. Gorbachev became a Nobel laureate. He won the Peace Prize in 1990 for helping to end the Cold War and working for nuclear disarmament. Manal also got to introduce Mr. Gorbachev at the World Summit, where he joined the other laureates. She says students often hear about the Peace Prize winners and see them in documentaries. But having them appear in person, she says, makes them and what they did seem so much more real. Mr. Gorbachev said at the summit that he hopes more young people will work against global problems like poverty and unemployment. He said young people have to be given a chance to take a stand, to take a position in this world. At von Steuben, the former Soviet leader talked about his nuclear arms negotiations with President Ronald Reagan in the late 1980s. He also talked about growing up in a small Russian village and studying law at Moscow University. And he talked about the need for international cooperation, a theme of the World Summit. Students at Lincoln Park High School in Chicago heard from Muhammad Yunus. He won the 2006 Peace Prize for his work with microcredit for social and economic development. Mr. Yunus said he used his own money to make the first loan, about $27, to women selling baskets in a market in Bangladesh. For VOA Special English, I'm Alex Villarreal. VOA Special English Education Report. There are schools of fish and there are schools for fishermen. The Cod Academy is a year-long program in Maine, one of the New England states in the American Northeast. The academy is new. The idea is to train current or former ocean-going fishermen to become fish farmers. Sebastian Bell is director of the Maine Aquaculture Association. That group launched the Cod Academy with the University of Maine and other partners. Mr. Bell says the academy teaches all about managing a floating farm. One of the things we've been teaching the students is how to feed the fish and not overfeed the fish, he says. You want to give them enough feed and not waste any. The students practice at 8 fish pens about 1.5 kilometers from shore. These circular pens are 50 meters wide and covered with netting to keep out seabirds. Each one holds as many as 50,000 cod. A partner in the academy, Great Bay Aquaculture of New Hampshire, operates this fish farm. Most of the cod will become someone's meal somewhere in the world. Bill Thompson is 59 years old. He served in the Navy and worked as a commercial fisherman. He says the Cod Academy made him a believer in fish farming. Even if the wild stocks came back to their fullest capacity, they still wouldn't be able to feed the world. So I think this is the way of the future. He and his son were among the first 4 students who graduated in August. Like any business, fish farming has financial risks. Program Director Sebastian Bell says students have to develop a marketing and business plan before they can graduate. Graduates can receive financial assistance from the Maine Aquaculture Association to start their own cod farm. But they will be expected to raise about half the money toward any project. Mr. Bell says the Cod Academy is based on programs to retrain displaced herring and tuna fishermen in Norway and Japan. These government-sponsored programs started more than 30 years ago. He says, "It's never been done before in America, and we're trying to see if it's a model that has some potential." Maine had just one commercial cod farm when the students graduated last month, but Mr. Bell hopes things will change. It's a native fish to Maine. The growing conditions in Maine are very good for cod, and it's kind of a natural choice for us as a state. For VOA Special English, I'm Alex Villarreal.
From VOA Learning English, this is the Education Report. Today, we hear expert suggestions for academic writing. Jennifer Ahern Dodson is an assistant professor of the Practice in Writing Studies at Duke University in North Carolina. Ms. Ahern Dodson likes to start a discussion with both students and professors planning to write a paper or essay. She asks about their earlier writing experiences. Were they negative or positive? She says you are not alone if you have had problems with your writing. Everyone struggles with writing. Writing is hard. It's hard for all writers at some point, she says. And at some point, you are going to hit a roadblock, she adds. She advises to think about earlier experiences. When the writing is going well, what was happening? When the writing was not going well, what was happening? She says most people's negative writing experiences happened because a very specific formula or page limit was required. Another problem can arise when the need to do well on a paper is extremely important. Anxiety, she says, can make it harder to get the writing done. Ms. Ahern Dodson says when writing comes easily, the writers believe they have something important to say. She advises asking yourself questions. What insights can you bring to your paper? Why does this subject matter? What is the importance? For whom is it meaningful? Who will be reading it? You can ease writing by placing your attention on what you have to offer. That, says Ms. Ahern Dodson, is an important change for all writers. For VOA Learning English, I'm Carolyn Presutti. From VOA Learning English, this is the Education Report. Recently, there have been increased efforts to make sure children in Africa get a good, strong education. But a new report says governments are losing about $129 billion every year on poor quality education. As a result, about 1 in 4 students in poor countries cannot read a complete sentence. That represents about 175 million young people. The report comes from UNESCO, the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization. It says poor teacher training and spending cuts are just 2 of the reasons for schools failing. Pauline Rose, an education specialist, directed the report. She says more teachers are needed in African countries south of the Sahara Desert. She says the area needs an additional 225,000 teachers a year to improve primary school education by 2015. Pauline Rose says governments like saving money by using contract teachers. These teachers are not government employees, but work by special agreement. Contract teachers can easily be dismissed. In addition, they earn far less money than teachers working for the government. The UNESCO report says governments will need to increase spending on education. In many countries, financial support for education has decreased or stayed the same in recent years. The report praises some countries. It says South Africa provides 6 times more money to teach students in areas with low education levels and high unemployment. And Malawi is creating teacher colleges to train teachers for rural areas. For VOA Learning English, I'm Carolyn Presutti.
Learning English. This is the Education Report in Special English. In late December, funerals took place for the shooting victims in Newtown, Connecticut, where 20-year-old Adam Lanza killed 20 children, 6 educators, and himself. Officials say Adam Lanza used guns owned by his mother, who he also killed during the shooting. The incident was the 2nd deadliest shooting at an American school. In 2007, a student at Virginia Tech University killed 32 people and then himself. What happened in Newtown has reopened debate about gun control and issues like mental health services. President Obama spoke at a memorial service in the town. He said he will use whatever power he has to prevent more tragedies like the one at Sandy Hook. He named Vice President Joe Biden to lead a team to develop proposals to reduce gun violence. But days earlier, another community not far away regained a school in a story of hope and renewal. Flooding from Hurricane Sandy nearly destroyed St. Camillus School in the Rockaway area of Queens in New York City.